Hello everyone, are you just paying bills and waiting to die? Well, stop it. And today I want to talk about 7 ways to acknowledge this and move past the constant cycle of repaying debts you don't need and avoiding the life you should live. Today on the 1 Year Life Challenge. Hello everyone, I've heard this quote and this meme and this motivational thing being passed around Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, you name it, and the concept of are you just paying bills and waiting to die? And I really like it because if you're honest with yourself, how many people simply stress from paycheck to bill to paycheck to bill, allowing this magnificent, incredible universe to pass them by? I see it all the time with the people that I help, and I see it all the time in the relationships around me. As always, I'm going to begin with a quote on the subject, and that quote is, are you just paying bills and waiting to die? Anonymous. Yes, was the answer I could have given you about 10 years ago. And those bills cannot be paid because it's really important to understand as we go through this journey, and what we're really doing is we've built those building blocks of understanding our consciousness. There is never enough for your ego. There is never enough. If you have 20 channels on your pay TV, you want 25 channels, and if you don't want 25 channels, you'll get an infomercial telling you should have 40 channels, and that want will never go away, and your bills will increase. You know, there's so many people going, if I could just get a pay rise of 10 grand a year, everything would be fine. No, the reality is you'll spend that extra 10 grand, you will add the bills and expenses to your life, and it's been proven again and again by economists. And that's what happened to me. As I started earning more and more and more money, more and more things and distractions and things came into my life. I had the best TVs, the best cars, the best subscriptions, the best mobile phone plan, everything was the best. So the bills just kept piling up. Therefore, I had to work harder and harder and harder to maintain all these things I didn't really need. So how do we change this? How do we fix this? How do we make a dent in this constant samsara cycle of paying bills? Well, number one, understand money can never be exchanged for emotions long term. This is a big one. Every dollar that's exchanged on the planet is exchanged for an emotion. But Brad, I buy products, I don't buy emotions. Good point. However, what you buy makes you feel a certain way. Now the most obvious one is you go to the bar, you want to have a good night, and Saturday night you buy some beer. So you're not really buying a beer, you're buying how you think that beer is going to make you feel. Now the same is true whether you buy a computer. Now, thousands of years ago, we used to have things that just did things. Now people buy a nice silver computer with a nice Apple logo because they want to feel better about the computer they use. Now, the challenge with this is that it does make you feel better for a very short period of time. However, once it goes away, you go back to your default state. And realizing that whether it's a boat or a helicopter, or whether it's a donut, those things that you're buying, you have to be honest with yourself, you're buying for emotional reasons, you know. And if it's not going to give you what you want long term, are there better things you should be spending your time on than simply buying things to make yourself feel better? Number two, ask yourself, why do you want money? Why do you want money? So many people have, especially in Australia. In Australia, they call the Australian dream owning a house, right? And I don't know who said that, but definitely probably a mortgage broker came up with that quote. And in Australia, so many people are living basically on the poverty line because they have $1,000 a week mortgages. They earn $60,000 a year, so all their money goes into their mortgage and they can't go on adventures. They're really trapped by that mortgage. But I want to ask them, why are you doing this? Why are you paying $1,000 a week for your mortgage? They go, because when I pay off this house, I'll have security. Bum bum. As we know in number one, when you do pay off that house, yes, you will get security for a short period of time. Security is a feeling. And as I learned, speaking to one of my first Buddhists that I ever met, when I said to them, they asked me great questions like, Brad, how much does a house cost in Australia? I said, oh, maybe say $350,000 is the average house price. Okay, and how long would you have to work to pay that off? I go, most people work 30 years to pay that off. Okay, and why do they do that? I go, for security. He goes, okay, if I told you you could feel secure immediately by simply knowing your true self and saved you $350,000, that'd be a good thing, wouldn't it? I just nodded and said, absolutely. So ask yourself, why do you want money? Get to the real reason. You will always buy an emotion and then backwards rationalize the ego. But you needed that extra hard drive. You needed that extra V6 in your car. You needed the extra theatre room in your house. So don't listen to the mind. Ask yourself really, what are you trying to achieve through this money, and can it be done in more sustainable ways? Ask yourself what you're willing to give up as well. Are you willing to give up 10 years of your life for a better house? I wouldn't. 3, Work at something you love. If you work at something you love, you'll be less likely to go out and spend to forget your work week. Tell you what, in the city I live, go out on a Friday night. It's the best night to go out on in regards to atmosphere and people out, because so many people clock off work at say 5:30. They go into the city. They just party because they just want to forget their work week. And really, if you're doing that, then you really should look at a job you're working to love. Because if you work at something you love, you won't need to forget anything. So many people go on extravagant holidays to get away from their job. But if you loved your job, imagine you could work on so much less money. Number 4. Bills are a sign of distraction. What do you really need? The more bills that come in are the more decisions you made in the past to try and get out of the fact that you're feeling a certain way. Remember, money is for emotions, so the more bills that come in are signs that you're distracted. So what do you really need? The reality is we need air, love, water, and food, and shelter. If you have those 5 things, and they don't need to be fancy, they don't. To me, when I'm hungry, a cucumber can taste as good as caviar. So once you've got those things, really start working on yourself and moving forward and becoming a better version of you. Because I don't care how much money you have right now, it can be taken away from you. I don't care how poor you are right now, you could win the lotto tomorrow and be a billionaire, but ultimately what will be left over is you. It's like I often say when people go, Brad, I'm going to Indonesia just to forget about these problems. And I go, well, understand when you pack your baggage for Indonesia, you're packing your thoughts and your beliefs, and they're coming with you. And it's not going to be better in Indonesia as it is in Sydney. Number 5, think of the best times in your life. How much money did you have when you were 16 years old going on your first road trip? I bet if you're anything like me, you had no money. I still remember going with my friends to shopping centres to buy food. I left home, I think it was about 17, 18 when I left home. I remember going to shopping centres and buying like cereal to eat for 2 days and putting my card in the machine and crossing, going, Lordy, 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 please don't, please approve. And I would have biscuits to eat for 2 days. But they were the best times of my life. I had so much fun and so much enjoyment. So if you think money's going to bring you enjoyment, just think about that. Think about the best times in your life and ask yourself, how much money did I have when those times were on? And what you also didn't have in those times, a lot of bills and distractions. Number 6, do you really build in retirement? Here's my philosophy. You work 9 to 5 or more, most people work 50 hours a week in reality, and a certain amount of your money in Australia anyway, about 10% is taken for superannuation, which is your retirement fund. That is then played by big industry super funds, and they go and use it on the financial markets. We all saw what happened just during the global financial crisis, irresponsible decisions made with your money. These bankers aren't making irresponsible decisions with their money. This money is your money, it's your super, it's your savings. Now, they'll go out, they'll get lots of bonuses, they'll live an extraordinary salary, and then when you're 65, they'll give that money back to you and high-five you and go, look, the money you invested has done really well. Unknown to you, that if you would have just put it away under compound interest, you probably would have had a better result than you would have by giving it to these complex financial mechanisms in which all these dividends were paid out and all these companies took that cut. And when you do get it back at 65, are you really in 65 right now, it might go to 70 or 80, are you really in any position to go travel the world, fall in love, begin changing your life? It's more challenging at that time. I believe you start now with what you've got. Number 7, say no. When your company wants you to take on extra work that you don't need, say no. When someone goes, let's go to this network marketing thing and buy these things, just say no. Just say no before you get put in the position where you're expected to buy new things, and really spend the time on yourself until you feel comfortable getting into those positions. And number 8, what would happen if you lost it all? If you lost every cent right now, what would happen? You just have a change in beliefs. You go from thinking I'm really wealthy to thinking I'm not really wealthy. But that's just a thought construct. You're still alive. You're alive. You're living. You are a conscious observer who has freedom and can do anything they want. So this fear that I could lose it all, which you can, earthquake, a lot of things are out of your control. So worrying about it's not going to help. And as Jim Carrey once said, his father, who was an amateur comedian, gave up that job to become an accountant. Because he wanted security for his family. He was fired as an accountant and the family became very poor. And what Jim Carrey learned is that even when you give up on your dreams, you can still fail. So why not go for your dreams? Because even if you fail, then at least you know. I want everyone on this challenge to really think about living their life, not having bills and then trying to squeeze in some living in between it. It's something to think about. I can't wait to see you tomorrow as we live this journey. Until then, goodbye.